I worked on this topic of how can I, make sense of what I'm doing. It's not like a third priority. So I was coached live by someone else during that supervision, and that was the aha moment, because the aha moment was this: if you label yourself as a coach, if you identify yourself that you're a coach, you start practicing. But if you even think about yourself when you introduce yourself, I'm not a coach, I'm actually a coach wannabe, I'm a facilitator and a coach, that shows what's the priority in your life. So that hit me, and I said, I'm going to change it.
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets, the podcast where we talk with successful career coaches on how they built their success and the hard lessons they learned along the way. My name is Davis Nguyen, and I'm the founder of Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, and even $100,000 weeks. Before Purple Circle, I've grown several 7- and 8-figure career coaching businesses myself, and have been a consultant at 2 career coaching businesses that are doing over $100 million each. Whether you're an established coach or building your practice for the first time, you'll discover the secrets to elevating your coaching business.
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets Podcast. I'm Pedro, and today I'm joined by Rareș Manolescu, who's got over 28 years of consulting experience and worked with over 19,000 leaders across Europe, the Middle East, Americas, and Asia. As a professional certified coach, he co-founded Mojo Moments and expanded coaching operations into the Middle East. He specialized in helping CEOs navigate current markets' biggest challenges: economic volatility, AI disruption, and leadership transitions. Welcome to the show, Rareș.
Thank you, Pedro, and it's a pleasure to be here with you today.
It's great to have you, and I like to rewind a bit, go back to the origin story, right? So, because I see that every coach has that aha moment that when they look at their life and say, you know what, I guess this is what I'm doing now, right? So when was that for you?
Well, that's a very interesting moment, and I always recall it with, with pleasure, and it's fun because I started coaching out of a curiosity and a moment that is linked with fire walking. So, maybe you're familiar with this, but in case, someone is not familiar with this, I was attending a fire walking workshop just to see a facilitator, how he does it. So with no other intention. And of course, at one moment I got caught in it and I said, fine, I'll attend this fire walking workshop, which lasted about half a day. At the end, we were supposed to, walk barefoot on hot coal, which was for me intriguing. And so through the process, the facilitator asked us to make like a bucket list. So I jot down all kinds of stuff. And then he asked us to pick one. So being caught between climbing Kilimanjaro and buying a Ferrari, I picked coaching. I don't know why, but I said coaching. So I kind of tear up that paper, and you have to hold it in your hand like an anchor, and then you walk across the hot coal carpet until the end. It's like you're trying to anchor an intention. So I did this more like a fun activity. 6 months later, I totally forgot about that. I remember the yellow piece of paper with coaching on it, but I threw it away 2 days later. Then 6 months later, I learned about the first coaching school being opened in Romania by, at that moment, my future mentor, a French, whose name is Alain Cardon. So that moment when I saw that coaching, I said, well, this is linked with my fire walking. So in an instant, I said, I'm going to enroll into this. There has to be a meaning in my life. And this is how I entered into my first preparation as a coach. No other plan, no vision about I'm going to save the world. It was just like maybe serendipity. Now, I knew the guy from before. I knew he's a good professional expert in what he does. I just thought this is a big opportunity. So this is how I started coaching. It was out of curiosity. It was not my intention to become a profession. I was at that moment a successful trainer and a manager in a company. And this was like a third area. And it became a bit later with practice. I gradually shifted to more coaching. That's my my beginning of this coaching
I think that's
journey.
The wildest origin story I ever heard in the podcast.
Really? Okay,
And
thank you.
That is so interesting. Yeah. I mean, I'm just picturing myself going to a workshop like, oh, I'm going to be a baker. Just take a look
Yeah.
at that and stepping out as a coach. I'm like, what the hell just happened? Right. Oh my God. That is so funny. Raresh. Okay. The origin story dialed in. Now I want to understand one thing, because there's a shift that usually happens in the coaching space, which is like, oh, I'm helping people, right? I'm a coach,
Right.
and now I'm building a real business around this, right? So
Yeah.
when that shift happened for you?
Well, I would say, if I go back in time, it happened over several years because coaching was not my primary source of income. So for some years, it was my secondary activity. And I can tell you that the critical moment was when I got I think I was in a second supervision workshop, because we have to go through supervision practice as coaches, with other fellow coaches and with the supervisor. And I worked on this topic of how can I, make sense of what I'm doing. It's not like a third priority. So I was coached live by someone else during that supervision, and that was the aha moment, because the aha moment was this: if you label yourself as a coach, if you identify yourself that you're a coach, you start practicing. But if you even think about yourself when you introduce yourself, I'm not a coach, I'm actually a coach wannabe, I'm a facilitator and a coach, that shows what's the priority in your life. So that hit me, and I said, I'm going to change it. So a year later, I got my first exam into the International Coach Federation, ICF, the ACC, which is the first level. And then I became serious about it, like, selling actively, and then gradually increasing my revenue. I started also monitoring the revenue. How much am I making from coaching versus from consulting versus from training and other management, for example. So then I said, I want to grow it. So that was my first step into it. The second step was when I decided to focus on something as a coach. And I decided to focus on team coaching. So coaching teams. And I said, that's my specialty, team dynamics. Individual coaching is a bonus, is part of it. It's part of the journey, but that's my focus. Now what I want to go. So that became even more important for me. And then it started getting more and more ground and actually, but that was the aha moment. Who are you? How do you introduce yourself? And right now, if you ask me, I'm introducing myself like I'm an executive team coach, because these are the keywords for me. I work with executives and with teams. And that kind of shifted for me over the years.
Interesting. Yeah, you were in corporate, and then you realized you found your niche, right? And I always like to ask about that part, the trial and error, because I see a lot of coaches that are trying to help everyone, right? From relationship to life coaching to business coaching to you name it, career coaching. So I want to understand how were you able to pinpoint your niche, right? The ones you realized, okay, I can help these people the best. This is my tribe. How you were able to dial that in?
Good. So it was a process, Pedro. It was a process, because I was thinking and thinking again. Now, I'm going to be open. One major role played my mentor, Alain Cardon, because I had numerous conversations with him, and he challenged me exactly on this topic. What is your focus? What is your niche? You can't do everything well. And even if coaching as a process is pretty much the same, who are you serving? So then I started asking myself this question, and I realized that I have a good base of clients coming from corporate, 80%, 90% multinational companies working already, but training people, not coaching. So I said, I have a good network there. Then I asked myself, over the last 20 years, actually it was less, 10, 15 years, who did I serve? And I realized I served senior managers, I served middle managers, and I realized this is my niche. Then I was myself a senior manager in a company, one of the companies. So I had also my own experience as a manager, and I said, this is who I'm going to serve. And then I realized I'm not going to sell life coaching, but I do life coaching sometimes, because I have some executives who need life coaching, even if it's called executive coaching, because they have issues with themselves, a lot, to be honest. But this is what I decided to focus on. I said, My clients are corporate managers. I'm going to help them, serve them. Contrary to what other people do, I do not blame and I do not discredit my clients because they are my focus. So whatever they do, I know they have good intentions. So I want to serve them in that direction. And that was it. There was a process of several years going through this, where I realized and I got focused. Now, I have to admit, I had also a marketing brain behind me who we're not even in a relationship, like a professional relationship, a friend of mine who challenged me in a similar way. I said, hey, Rareș, what is your unique selling proposition? What is your advantage? What are you offering? Otherwise, you're nobody. Everybody does this. How are you different? So I got challenged over the years by some important people. And then I said, well, I need to do something about it. Yeah. So this is how I ended up with deciding what's my niche. And then I further fine-tune it to team coaching when I realized that I can have a bigger impact. So for me, Pedro, at the moment, the most impact I can have on people's lives is working with teams or with organizations. I do also organizational coaching. This is it, and that's about it for me.
Ah, interesting. Now, we're talking about senior managers, organizational coaching, teams, right? And I want to understand somewhat to an extent, like your friend, the marketing side, right?
Yeah.
Now, how do those people usually find you?
Thank you. It's a question that I have to answer from time to time, and I was thinking. So I'd like to be very honest with you in this regard. Let's break it down. Individual coaching clients. How do those people find me? Primarily is word of mouth. At this moment in my life is word of mouth. 20 years ago, it was actively following up with people I knew in my network. So the first thing I learned was get your network to know about you. So I was going on LinkedIn, I was going to all my phone book, and then letting people know, hey, I coach people. Do you need my services? Then I went to all the HR directors and senior managers I knew. Hey, I also do coaching. So I inform as many people as I was able over the years. Then I started having my clients, very painful first coaching sessions, very stressed, with huge pressure. Then some of those clients recommended me to others. So it was word of mouth that it built over the years, but that was it's the side effect. The beginning was letting people know. Today, I'm doing the same thing. I'm trying to reach out to my network and expand my network. So that's the first thing. How did I get team coaching clients? Getting to know executives. So I went to different events. I get in contact to people. It was getting out of the room, going out. I didn't even have a website, a proper website, but I had clients. Now, why? I was already promoted by others. So one of the ideas I got was this: network is the key word. So I was focused on building a network of people who could recommend me. So my network of people were and are my clients, direct clients, individual, team coaching, executives that know me, and then partners. Over the years, I've built business relationships in other countries. So I have a few partners in different countries in Europe and Middle East who sell me or promote me. And locally, I've also mentored other coaches who some of them are recommending me to their clients if they can't take on an engagement or if they believe we can work together. So that's one of my big lessons learned was build the network. Start small, expand gradually. At this moment, I'm doing more sales than marketing because I'm relatively known in Romania, for example. But outside Romania, I need to promote myself, and this is through network. So these are two different, setups that I have.
Okay, interesting. And I want to tap in one thing that I think it positions you in a certain unique way, which is like you're in Romania, right? And in the introduction, We're talking about Asia, Middle East. We're talking about the US. So, and this is kind of a hot topic for coaching space. So I want to understand from your point of view, you're in the trenches, right? And we're talking about marketing. Do you see culture differences on how to approach, for example, a coaching client from the Middle East, or maybe a US based client is more open to coaching, for example? Do you see those cultural differences when you're talking to people, even in the the first contact, or even when down the line as a client? And I'm very curious about this.
Yes, Pedro. Yes, it is. So, the culture plays a big role. The first difference I see it among clients is how do you sell and how do you contact, actually, because the speed is different. So in some countries, for example, let's take US, people are more used with coaching. But in the Middle East, for example, it takes longer time. So I had to adapt and be patient. Some engagements took 6 months to conclude. While, for example, in Europe, I could conclude in an engagement, like a sales process, in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 1 month. So this speed of decision making is different. Second is, some clients are more reluctant than others. Therefore, they open less. So that is why, for example, I do not sell coaching by pitching it. I coach people so they actually experience it. And while they experience how I'm coaching them about what they want to achieve, then I say, this is how I'm working. Do you want to work with me? This is how it goes. So actually, I've shifted completely when I get to one-on-one to coach people, because this is free sampling, basically, to them. It's not, I used to send PowerPoints and presentations, but they're good for professional buyers who need to get, a kind of a profile, but not for end user clients. The other big change is various cultures, activate various degrees of openness to be coached. So some people are more used to open up and trust the coach immediately, while others take maybe 1 or 2 sessions to open up. And the topics they bring are, for some of them, more, convenient, superficial, distant, versus others come right away with deep topics. I noticed that the higher the seniority degree in an organization, the faster the person opens up. That's my experience working with CEOs. They open up immediately. First, they need to trust me, say, okay, you're a trusted practitioner. Okay, let's move on to what I need. This is it. For middle managers, senior managers, some are reluctant. So yes, according to different, even Europe is different in terms of openness. For example, North and South of Europe, or take Middle East versus Europe versus US as opening. So here I found difference culturally speaking. I would say also very interesting that women tend to take coaching much more often than men. I don't know why, but it's just an observation. Even if at the moment I have kind of a 50-50 distribution between my coach clients, women, men. I used to have more women as clients, but it shifted over the years to more men, let's say. That's interesting. And it shifted also to more senior levels. I started with lower levels, like frontline managers, and then I gradually went up and up and up. Now, I don't know why, but this is what I noticed. So I don't judge, I just accept whatever that comes to me.
No, interesting. Thanks for sharing that. I was super curious about this. Now, let's say I am one of those potential clients, right? That came through word of mouth, was recommended from your networking, and I resonated with what you shared or your content. We ended up going to a discovery call, however you want to call it. I was exposed to your coaching practice. You served in the first call. That's what you just told me. So I want to work with you. Right. Mm-hmm. So pretend I'm that client. So what does that experience looks like right now, working with Rareș or Mojo,
Well, I'd like to make a comment here about Mojo Moments. And that is, so Mojo Moments is one of the companies I founded. It is focused more on the motivation science than the coaching. So it's US based. I've also, I also have some other businesses in Romania, but also in the Middle East, but that's a bit different. I know we have the Mojo Coach process there. But this is my other part of my life, which is focused on the science of motivation. So coming back to your question about how does the coaching session look like with Rareș? The first thing I would like to explore with you is this. What is a topic that's on your mind and you would like to bring it now?
Okay. It's like getting into the intention, right? What's the reason behind the action? That's what you're gonna dive into.
Exactly.
Okay.
So
okay.
we can do it, or I can share with you how it goes. However works for you.
We don't have, I'm more curious about the structure, right? Because I've seen a lot of way of doing things. It's like one-to-one, one-to-manage, one-to-many, package, licensing. It's more about structuring the business. That's the curiosity tends to be more on my end and our audience, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. So that, I mean, for me, what's essential here is to figure out what is the burning topic or issue, and what is the motivation behind it, because that's worth exploring. So it's that why question that coaches are taught that they should never ask in a coaching conversation, but it's important because knowing what's on your mind, knowing what bothers you, or what's your ambition, what's your dream, this is the starting point. So how I work with someone is we always go through a series of questions, like, I don't know, 4, 5, 6, like a package, if you want, like a process. Why? Think of it like a boot camp. You want to change something in your life, you need to go to a boot camp. It's like go to fitness, but now this is mental fitness. So therefore, there needs to be a rhythm that we know where that has a clear start, clear end. And then, first of all, I would help you to define what is an outcome or several outcomes you want to get at the end of this engagement together. Then we can work and break it down through each session into what is for you the most important you want to get. So it happened to me at times that, because I use this 1 hour coaching time, which was set by someone, I don't know who said, okay, 1 hour is the coaching time, but I don't know. I sometimes work an hour and a half or maybe 20 minutes, but I always get 1, 2, or even 3 topics. It depends on the client. Some people are so fast with their topics that they say, well, I have another one and another one. And basically my purpose is to help you clarify first what's so important for you to get there. What's the deeper meaning, not the apparent meaning of what you are doing. And that's it. For example, today I had a coaching session right before we had our podcast, and it's a senior manager from a company, senior brand manager. So she came with this topic of, I have a new team member that joins the team, and then my purpose is how do I, get to work together and build a relationship. And I said, if the universe is trying to teach you something, what is the lesson you need to learn from this experience of having a new joiner in your team? So she paused for a few moments, and then she said, well, for me is to learn how to enjoy and go past my apparent fears of working with the new situations, is to rediscover the joy of experimenting things in life, like new things in life. So beyond the action plan she made, she concluded the session with this saying, I now I'm more energized than I was in the beginning of the session, because I know it's about enjoying everything that comes new rather than be afraid and avoid it. So that's a little example of how I helped her to get deeper to what's behind.
I like that. Yeah, it's peeling off the onion, right? It's trying to understand, getting to the core issue, the core drive, and how are we going to solve it? Okay, I like that. Now, Rareș, I'm curious where you're taking all this, right? You even mentioned you have multiple businesses. You have your own practice as a one-on-one. Sometimes it's more like and I understand you have Mojo. So looking ahead, where do you see your business going? Are you thinking about scaling, hiring, or is there a next step you're excited about?
Yes, it is. So from Mojo right now, I'm just pulled off from a management role. I'm not doing anything, operational there. I was close to burnout, and this is why I pulled out of it. And actually, so there are other people managing right now the business. So at the moment, I'm focused only on one thing for what I'm doing, which is the current coaching and then consulting business that I have, but expanding it. So what's next for me at the moment is something, I was reflecting. I think I had also this question once, and I was reflecting, what do you want to do right now? And I realized the following: over those years, I've always built teams. In my previous companies, I've sometimes started from scratch and I built a team, and then I led it, and then I moved to another role and built another team. And right now I'm alone as a company. I mean, I don't have people who are working for me as employees. So I am again in the point of starting to build a team. Because the last team I left was the Mojo team, which I left it from the operational role. And before that, I left another team which was built and then there. So at the moment, I work for a few years alone. And right now, I'm this moment when I'm saying I want to build this, but I don't want to build it like in a traditional brick and mortar way. I believe in network organizations and in distributed work. So basically, what I'm looking right now is I have a few potential partners. I call partners those coaches, individual coaches who tend to work alone, and see how I can get them to work together in a collaborative, setup. Because what I noticed over the years is, this is also one of the points of this podcast. Coaches sometimes tend to work alone, but working alone is not necessarily allowing you to scale up, or does not always allowing you to develop, versus working with someone in a collaborative environment. So for me, that's the next step in terms of the business. I have international partners, and I want to get also local partners, and actually to have not just business development partners, but coaches or consultants. So this is where I am with my, intention. And obviously also in terms of this business dimension, revenue is also to increase it as we, move on. And this is also linked with the following idea. Some clients tend to be very comfortable with one face, and they are reluctant to accept another face. And I've experienced that.
The handoff.
I only want you because I trust you. I said, yes, fine, but I have another one. So I'm in that moment when I need to, help my clients understand I have other people that I can, recommend to. This is where I am.
It's more like a strategic partnership, but at the same time, trying to impact more people, right? Because there's only so much you can do by your own. And it sounds like you really love building teams and having that, I would say it's even an accountability trick. You have someone that relies on you and you rely on them, so you guys can keep moving forward. So yeah, that's super cool. And I want to dive into a little bit into your experience. Okay, highlight a little bit, and because you've seen all types of business advice, and some are good, some are bad, especially in this era, right? The social medias with AI is dead. Next post is AI is going to take over. So I wanna tap into that. Like, what's one piece of business advice you wish more people actually took seriously? And it could be in the coaching space or not. Really up to you.
Well, I would focus more on business, Pedro. You know why? Because some of the coach training that people take is not focused on business. It's focused on coaching skills. I did not learn this too. I did not learn how to develop my business as a coach through all the coaching schools. Nobody talks about this. So you need to go to someone else. So I went to someone else. I experimented. And my advice is to start building a network of people and actually talk to people. That's my primary thing. So right now, this world is global. You can coach anywhere if you want. You can scale up. What I saw as a first lesson was this: build the pipeline. If building the pipeline works through the website, excellent. If the building pipeline works through email, through events, fine. I don't care. But building a pipeline is essential, because we actually need to sell to close the deal. It's not to be nice and that's it. I mean, you need to have a call to action. This is something I learned from the marketing friend. Dude, you need a call to action. To anything you do, call to action, call to action, call to action. What is it? Second is know their value, define their value. Like, what's the rate and why? and ask it, and that's fine if you ask it. If a client doesn't want to pay it, that's fine. Maybe they don't see value for you. That's excellent. It's okay, right? You move to someone else. So knowing the value, defining the value, not looking at the market. When I charge my fee, I'm not looking at other people. I'm looking at myself, saying, what's the honest value I'm bringing to people? And I'm not ashamed to ask that amount of money. Third is, let's put it this way: delegate to others. So have resellers. This is my own experience. I've developed a network of people who sold me. So I was not the only one selling myself. I was contracted. Call it subcontracting if you want, or whatever term you want. But it's a part of the business that can come with less effort. It could be through websites. That it's full of websites where you can, enroll and go there. But this is something that I see. So it's not just direct selling, but it's also indirect selling that works. And then the last one is referrals. Focus on that, assuming a person has what could be referrals that you can get. So I'm in around these 4 areas that were for me, stood out for me over the years. And right now I'm working on my last one, which is this is my personal quest right now, to build more like a presence and do more like PR, if you want, if I could use that term, this building. Because I was not so much focused to go outside. I was very much focused on working with clients. And I got the feedback from people, hey, we want to learn from you or hear what you're doing. You don't talk too much about what you're doing. So I said, fine, this is my challenge that I take it personally for these years, to start, talking about what I'm doing. So actually, I stated publicly like a commitment.
Yeah, I love that, especially the business side, because I see a lot of coaches struggling out there with this. It's like they have this preconception of a salesy approach, and they're like, I'm so identity driven. I just want to help people. But if you're not generating revenue, it's a hobby,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
not actually a business. So I love that reminder. And Rareș, if someone listening wants to connect with you or follow your work, where can people find you and connect with you?
Well, first I would say LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn, or you can find me on my website. But a website for me is more like for information purposes. But primary channel right now is LinkedIn. That I have. And then if anyone wants to reach out, they can find an email. They can find contact form on the website. I have built this gadget, which is like instant messaging, WhatsApp on the website. I even got today a message from someone say, hey, I'd like to connect with you and let's talk. So these are the 2 channels that I have at the moment.
Okay. Rareș, there were a few things you said today that really stayed with me. Okay. I would say the firework workshop, that origin story, that is so funny. And at the same time, it is funny, it's also sounds like a calling, right? We're talking about sometimes the first word that comes to mind, that's just a gut feeling, right? We do this exercise once in a while, and you're just rogue coaching. I love that. It's like out of the blue like that. And I think that's how it shows how powerful it is when we just, embrace the experience and don't think that much or overthink about something, right? We're just living the moment, being present. So I think that is so interesting. Also, the shift you made when I asked you about when was the shift, I'm helping people to I'm running a real business. And you told me it was when you owned the identity, right? That's when you told yourself, I am a coach. So that's what you felt. Oh, okay. That's the big aha moment, which eventually, of course, it happens naturally, organically, but there is a moment that it showed me, at least in your origin story, that we're talking about someone who actually embraced the identity. I think that's very, very powerful. And last but not least, I would love to, emphasize the fact you had mentors. Alan Cardone, that you mentioned, your mentor, and the marketing buddy you have, and they kept challenge you, down the road. And I think that's a very strong reminder for every coach that's listening out there is, hey, you need to have a coach. You need to have a mentor, right? Now, Rareș, this is my long way of saying I appreciate what you do. I appreciate
Thank
you
you.
being here and
Thank
sharing
you.
so openly today. Okay, it was great having you on.
Thank you, Pedro, and I appreciate so much the time that we spent together and your questions. It really, really made me, reflect inside. So I appreciate that, and thank you so much for having me.
Likewise.
That's it for this episode of Career Coaching Secrets. If you enjoyed this conversation, you can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening to this episode to catch future episodes. This podcast was brought to you by Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, or even $100,000 weeks, all without burning out and making sure that you're making the impact and having the life that you want. To learn more about our community and how we can help you, visit joinpurplecircle.com.